We'll get to 100 million in revenue in 8 years, or 8.5, which is the goal. We're going to do 100 million in revenue in a wholesaling company. No one's ever done that before, ever.
It's the Doscinco Project.
Money pouring in, clientele growing down.
With your host, Doscinco.
Let's go!
What's up, everybody? You are now tuned into the Doscinco Project, where we talk about business, finance, motivation, and mindset. I have a very special guest with us today. He is the founder and the principal of Problem Property Pals, a multi-million-dollar real estate investment and wholesaling company. He is also the author of the book Wholesaling, From Heroin to Houses, and has made speaking appearances at NASDAQ and CBS News Radio. Everyone, please welcome George Beatty. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, Daryl. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
I'm excited.
First and foremost, I got to thank you, and I'm going to tell you why I got to thank you. Because a few years ago, you gave me the opportunity to actually meet with you, and I looked you up online when I was trying to get into the wholesale real estate, and I noticed that you were a major player, and you were generating lots of income, especially at your age. And we met. And you gave me a lot of advice. You didn't charge me, and I know you charge. I know you can charge people, for the advice that you give. So I just want to thank you for that, and also remaining close, throughout the years.
Absolutely, yes.
So what I want to do now is, obviously, you've been very successful. You've generated millions in real estate. I want you to take me back to the beginning, before all of the success, and tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Got you. So if you buy my book, From Hustling from Heroin to Houses, there's a little bit in the book if you want to get more into detail about what my childhood was like.
Yep.
So I was a really bad kid, and I was a very unhappy kid. I grew up in a white bread suburb of Philadelphia, frankly, and I went to a very, very good public school, which for high school, which now I'm very, very grateful for, though I did almost not graduate from that school. But middle class family, maybe lower middle class, I guess. And yes, very, very unhappy as a child. Not a lot of positive reinforcement from my parents. Like I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh yeah, my dad owned a fabric store or like a newspaper and like taught me the value of hard work.
Right.
Essentially, not always in so many words, but the constant messaging that I got from my parents was, the world is a very dangerous place that does not want you to succeed. You're probably not going to succeed, so you should just play it really safe and not take any risk whatsoever.
Wow.
And that messaging from them sort of has continued into adulthood, which, have to stay separate from that. But anyway, so when I was 15, 16, I found out about drugs and was like, these are great. I want to do them all the time. and I started using drugs and drinking a lot. And I don't mean like, oh, I went to all these parties and it was fun and I'm trying to like unglorify partying as a kid.
Absolutely.
I did have a lot of fun at certain times, but I'm talking about waking up in the morning, but the morning for you is 2:00 in the afternoon. And the first thing that I did was use drugs or drink. And, it took me a little bit of a ramp up to get to that level of addiction. But very quickly it was, if I'm awake, I don't want to be sober. As soon as I found it, drugs is like the second that happened. My grades crashed, my behavior crashed. I started getting arrested at least once a year from when I was 15 to when I was 22.
Right.
When I turned around the age of 19, or 18 maybe, I got a job telemarketing, which I was really good at.
Okay.
Can I curse?
Yeah, you do
great.
whatever you want. We'll bleep it.
Will you? Okay, that's fine. Whatever. I'm just going to be myself.
Absolutely.
So I got a job telemarketing when I was like 18 or 19. Was like, oh, I'm really good at this. And I was like the top guy in this huge call center of like 50 or 100 people, which to me was like, everyone in here sucks. This is like so easy. And but at that same time where, I had my first hint like, oh, I'm naturally good at sales. Like when you're a dope fiend, right? Like when you every single day have to come up with $20 or $50, and like that $20 or $50, which quickly turns into $100, is like I don't have my dad's credit card. I don't have a job, right? Like you got to hustle, right? You got to figure it out every day, talk people into it, figure out how to buy a bag for 10 and sell it for 15 over. You got to do that stuff. So I was already practiced in that when I was like 18. And, I think that those skills transferred to my telemarketing gig at the time. But I also got addicted to prescription pills right around then, the like downers. And then to not dive too deep in the story.
Yeah, of course.
Fast forward, if you want a full story, buy my book. Fast forward about a year and a half, I Googled how and where to buy heroin in Philadelphia, and lo and behold, thank God for the Philadelphia Inquirer, driving around a several block radius, the open air drug markets have moved since 10 years ago. But yeah, some, Latin guy flagged me down when I was at a stop sign, was like, yo, white boy. And I was like, oh, that's my guy.
Right.
And, that guy robbed me a couple times, whatever.
Wow.
And, I'm still getting arrested and crashing my car every week. And, I think probably your next question is how did you get into real estate, I imagine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I guess I'll just keep telling the story.
Of course.
So anyway, I'm fast forward a little bit. I'm 22. I'm addicted to heroin, and I'm drinking like half a bottle of whiskey a day. I'm eating prescription pill. I'm fucking crashing, and I'm getting arrested or having police contact literally every 2 or 3 weeks. But talking my way out of it half of the time. To tell a quick story, I kept the Dungeons and Dragons book in my back seat, and every time I got pulled over in North Philly, which was all the time because my headlights didn't work,
of course,
I was like, "Oh my God, sir, I'm so sorry. I don't know where I am. I was just trying to drop my friend's book," and I would start fake crying.
Wow.
And it'd be like a Dungeons and Dragons thing. This is my friend Marco or something. Because this is at like 7th and I probably shouldn't say the intersection, but Badlands or whatever.
Yep.
And the cop would just be like, "Look, kid, shut." He was like, "Get the fuck out of here, go down the street, make a right, don't stop at the stop signs," and be like, "Okay, thank you so much."
Oh, wow.
And then I talked my way out of who knows how many, police stops at night with like tons of drugs and a gun in the car, all kinds of craziness. So that was happening.
So what woke you up?
I tried to rob a pharmacy, and this is now a matter of public record.
Yeah, of course.
I got caught, and interesting legal situation. But I tried to rob a pharmacy, and around the same time, the company that I was working for got raided by the, I believe it was the FDA or the DEA. We were involved in trafficking what we thought were legal intoxicants, and then the FBI and we disagreed as to how legal it was. We lost. So that the curtain seemed like it was closing on that business that I was working for.
Yep.
Which I did not make any money at, unfortunately. And also I got caught trying to rob a fucking pharmacy.
Right.
I crashed my car like 3 times in a 2-week period. I was out of money, and Daryl, man, like if I had a nickel for every time leading up to that situation that I was slapping myself in the face, crying on my way to North Philly, wondering why I couldn't stop doing heroin, I'd have like 8 nickels, right?
Wow.
And then after the robbery thing, I crashed it was just like, I looked myself in the mirror, man, I was just like, what happened to me? I used to love being alive. I used to love life when I was, at certain points when I was a kid. I used to have all these hopes for myself. I'm a smart guy, right? I can do things. And I'm addicted to heroin. Like heroin, like not like smoking cigs, like heroin.
Heroin, yeah.
And it was like, you know what? I'm fucking changing my life. I'm going to fucking do it. And I detoxed on my mom's couch because I couldn't get a bed at a...
Cold turkey?
Yeah, I couldn't get a bed at a rehab. Well, I found some cough syrup in the house, and I was like chugging cough syrup for 3 days as a detox. Yep. For some reason... My withdrawal was not as bad as other people describe it as. I don't know how or why, but something, I don't know if you believe in God or whatever, but
of course.
Something, when I made that decision, I'm going to fucking change my life, something chemically I think happened in my body somehow. And also like there was such a weird cocktail of drugs in my system all the time. I don't know if I ever got, like, I don't know. It's like I had detoxed from benzodiazepines, cold turkey, which was the worst experience of my life. It was way worse than quitting heroin. But yeah, I can detox on my mom's couch for three or 4 days, and then I went to rehab. And after that, I was in rehab for like 2 weeks, insurance stuff. And I moved into a recovery house in Bucks County, a halfway house. And I went to 12-step meetings for years. And I lived in halfway houses and recovery houses for like 2 or 3 years also, while I, made sure I put my life back together. And that's what my childhood was like, or young adulthood. So anyway, so fast forwarding into business, right? because like, you know, I'm not here to talk about me.
Yeah, but you know what? Somebody's going to hear this. Somebody may be going
that's why
through
I tell
that.
The story. Yeah.
And what you're saying is possibly going to change the trajectory within their life.
I hope so.
I'm
That's why I like
glad
doing
that you're
these
very
things.
candid because
Yes.
a lot of people,
Thank you.
especially the successful ones, tend to hide that stuff.
Yeah. So when I got sober, or clean, I at the time was like, no one's like me. Who's ever kicked a drug habit and gotten better? Nobody. It was like, wow, okay, I'm going to end up as a janitor somewhere, but I'd be happy to be a janitor if I'm not as unhappy as I am using drugs. Like whatever, as long as I stay sober and I make $50,000 a year and can buy a house someday, I'll be fine.
Gotcha.
And then I got a job when I was in a halfway house with 2 months clean, selling TVs for commission, which I didn't even want the job. I wanted a steady thing. No one would hire me. You know, junkie, no job experience.
Right. Criminal background already.
Yeah. So like they didn't really know. So interesting thing with the criminal stuff. I didn't get, so all those events occurred in like 2011.
Yep.
I didn't get charged for any of them until like 2014 or 2015,
Okay, so you
which
still
was
had some time.
which was really, really weird. And I still don't know why that happened, but I did, and a couple felonies. Like at the time, literally I was like, any day they're going to come get me again. And they're just going to put me in jail. So it's like, okay, the longer I stay in this halfway house, like maybe they'll let me stay here instead of going to prison. I'm like, all right. But yeah, like no job history. I'm not getting haircuts. I smell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing going for me. I'm, 22-year-old loser. It's pretty fucking obvious from looking at me.
Right.
So no one would hire me. I take this 100% commission job and I fucking kill it. I start making $1,000 a week and, living in a recovery house, no college, no nothing, all on my own accord, just selling TVs and just from doing my job.
Yep.
I bought a car. You know what I mean? That was more money than I ever thought I would make in my whole life was $50,000 a year, right?
Wow.
Or like 45, 50. And I worked there for like 6 months. Because I wanted to go back to college and I was like that. And some guys came in and bought TVs that like sold home improvements, like windows, siding, roofing. And they seemed like they made pretty good money. None of them had college degrees from just bullshitting with them. And I was like, oh, wait a second. If you're telling me I can make $100,000 a year or $150,000 a year selling home improvements without a college degree, what the fuck would I want to go to college for?
Exactly.
At the time it was like $100,000 is rich.
Of course.
Right. That's like, you're like, oh, you don't have to worry about anything. No kids, no anything like no wife. Right.
Right.
So I was like, fuck this. I'm going to figure out how I can get a job. So some guy bought a TV from me that worked for a bathroom remodeler that was like a direct sales company. Okay. And they offered me a job, which long story short, I didn't work there. I ended up working for a very large local window and siding and roofing company.
Yep.
And when I was 22, 8 months clean, and they gave me the best sales training that I've ever seen or experienced anywhere.
Okay.
And I looked the interview guy in the eye, and he was like, I'm not going to hire you. You're fucking inexperienced. You're 22. Most of the people in this role are 35. Why should I give you a shot? And I looked him square in the face, and I said, I will outwork everybody that works here. I'll outwork you. I'll outwork the CEO. I'll outwork everybody else in my training class if you give me a shot. I don't have another option but to be successful here.
Right.
And based on my track record in sales, I will be. I'll take this job from you, which I'd rather do, or this other company offered me a job. You tell me what you want to do. And the fucking, so now as somebody that interviews salespeople, I'm like, oh, that's exactly what you want to hear. I didn't know that at the time.
Of course.
So the
were
guy
being persuasive.
Right.
Yep.
But also like, look, mother, this is me. You want to give me a shot or not?
Exactly.
Right. So the sales manager at the time sat down and was just like, you want to start on Monday? And I was like, I do. And I did outwork everybody, or at least like the people in my immediate training class. That job was really hard, kind of made a man out of me.
Okay.
I was not the best salesperson. It's better than mediocre, but anyway, so I learned this system for making people say yes to you, like one call closing window people.
Yep.
And I made $100,000 a year there for a few years, which is amazing, changed my life. And I was like, shit, this isn't enough money. I'm bored. I want to do something else. I felt like I got passed over for a promotion. Right around that time, I meet a guy at a diner with friends. He was just like, hey, man, what do you do for a living? He said he wholesaled real estate.
Okay.
I said, what's that? He told me. And wholesaling real estate is essentially when you buy a property. It's the same thing as like trading an option on a stock. You buy a property at a discount that needs a ton of work. You mark it up a little bit, and then you sell it to a flipper or a landlord without doing any work to it. Except instead of you having to close on the property, like bring money to it, you sell the contract to buy the house, which means you don't need any of your own money. You don't need any credit or anything like that, as long as you can find a buyer. So he explained to me how that worked, and was like, how do you get someone to sell you their house for 30% of what it's worth?
Exactly.
He told me a little bit about it, and I was like, that's what I'm doing to get people to buy windows from me for $1,000 a piece. I bet no one's doing that system or like using that like level of sharpness or organization or preparation. You know, Floyd Mayweather or The Art of War says, whoever's most prepared wins. I was like, you know what? I bet I'd be really good at wholesaling real estate. So me and that guy talked a little bit more. We ended up partnering up for a year or two. Basically, he generated the leads, then I would close them and do everything else afterwards.
Yep.
And we, you know, after a little while, I think had very separate visions for what we wanted to do.
Okay.
And, you know, we went our separate ways. And that's when Problem Property Pals really took off is that moment. It turns out the gut feeling I had meeting that guy in the diner was correct. Holy smokes, I would be really good at this. I bet I could build a gigantic organization that's systematic, that does this thing, that has great cash flow, that helps lots of people that no one's ever seen before in this region and maybe even in the country. So, and that's what we're going to do.
Dude, that's awesome, man. So after meeting him at the diner, you know, you didn't meet, I mean, he was a complete stranger to you at the diner, right?
Yeah.
So then you get this
Like
idea.
sort of a friend of a friend.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. So then you get this idea. So then you go, you partner with this individual for almost about 2 years. Then you go out on your own. Is it just you at the time?
No. So when he and I partnered, it was a kind of a murky situation where we had a company name, but like he was responsible for part of it and I was responsible for another part.
Yep.
So basically the part that I built that, you know, it's like, this is my gang. This is the base. This is like what we do. So essentially, when we split, I took that with me, right? So, you know, so he kept, you know, the name, the marketing, like a lot, like basically where the division was is where the split was.
Okay.
And when that occurred, you know, some of the staff that was with us then were, you know, left, which, you know, happens in a transition. And a lot of changes started occurring from there to make the business much more scalable and more reliable for everybody that works there, right? So, you know, when I say reliable, I mean like a strong company means that the employees that work there, the people that are, you know, that make a good living, that, you know, all that stuff, have security that they can keep being there for a long period of time because the company's healthy, right? But
and they're happier too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Theoretically, right.
Gotcha.
So when that happened, we started morphing our sales systems and operational systems and things like that. And frankly, since that, so that was in like 2017, I think. So since then, I've been extremely focused on the sales, lead generation, marketing side of the business versus some of the operational stuff in the background.
Yep.
So our lead generation, our marketing, our outside sales system, like all that is very, 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 very good.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, since we're talking about operations right now, describe your business as it is today. Do you have an acquisitions team? Do you describe that?
Okay, so I'm going to give you a 30,000-foot view.
Yep.
Excuse me. So I did not count the number of current employees that we have. It's approximately 15.
Okay.
We are also currently urgently hiring for some roles. So if anybody, you know, wants a job, hit up our Indeed profile in Philly. Think of it like an assembly line, right? Okay. So most wholesalers or most like guys in real estate, like flippers, landlords, they're all sort of like one-man bands trying to do everything themselves, like a jack of all trades. So we here at Problem Property Pals reject that idea of jack of all trades and go for ultra specialization, right? Okay. Everybody does a role, and everybody does that role really, really, really well, right? Okay. So it's not rocket science. So, so we market for leads. The leads come in.
How do you market?
So we do a significant amount of direct mail. That's by far our number one marketing source.
Gotcha.
We do, depending on we are constantly learning, growing, remaining open-minded, and experimenting with different marketing sources. Okay. However, direct mail continues to be the most successful, most scalable. Though the cost of doing direct mail and the cost of a phone call and appointment has been going up significantly for years because it's so competitive. Right. But for us, because of our sales efficiencies, is still profitable. So we're still doing it, right? Okay. So we'll do 150 or 180,000 pieces of mail in November of 2020, as an example.
Gotcha.
just in this area. So do lots of mail, we do Google, all that stuff. Calls come in, leads come in. The outside sales reps, the appointment setters book leads for our outside sales reps. Okay. So they talk to people, qualify them, put them in a calendar. Outside sales guys go out. They say, "Oh, wow, you want to sell 123 Main Street? Thanks. Here, sign right here. Great. Okay, they're done." Okay. And then we sell it to a flipper or a landlord, or typically a flipper or landlord. Sometimes it's an owner-occupant, and we do an assignment of contract, right?
And do you already have a set list of buyers for your company?
Okay. So we have, I think that there's over 10,000 people on our buyers list for the Philadelphia area, not including Delaware and New Jersey. That's just the PA side.
Okay.
Also, we have a gazillion relationships with a gazillion people here to sell those properties. Wow. We don't sell them before we put them under contract. Once the outside sales reps get them, then we sell them. We have a huge network of buyers here. But one thing that's really important to note about that is there's more money for real estate investing than there is real estate to invest in. So when you have a good deal, like you could sell that to somebody that you are waiting in line with at Burger King because you're selling them profit. Gotcha. You're selling them like an amazing investment opportunity.
Because you're already getting it under the market value.
Right.
Okay.
So even if we did not have a substantial buyers list, like the ability to get deals, get in front of sellers and get deals solves literally every other problem you could have as a real estate investor or wholesaler, right? Wow. So, the dispositions team, so we call that dispositions when they sell it to investors. We have a few dispositions people. Our operations team is the same size now that it was in like 2017, 2018, which is insanely understaffed. So our current challenge is, meeting the demand, or meeting the incredible performance of our sales team with operational capacity. That's our big push right now. Okay. So, we're hiring and have greenlit and are hiring a number of people for our operations side of the business. But essentially, there's some title folks, there's some transaction coordination folks, there's some people that make the machine move, right? They get pictures, they relocate people, they do all that other fun stuff, make sure we get paid.
Now, you don't have to get very specific into it, but with the team that you currently have, with the operation that you currently have, how much are you generating revenue-wise in any given year within the past 2-3 years?
So that's a great question. So generally in wholesaling, if you're not familiar with real estate, as a listener, it's a really big deal for a wholesaler to do more than $200,000 a year in revenue, or $300,000. Getting over $1 million is like the top 1% of wholesalers.
Gotcha.
We did our first $1 million in what year is this? In 2017, or it might have been 2016. I actually don't remember. We did $2 million in 17. Yeah, we did $2 million in 17. $2 million in 18, but all of our efficiencies doubled, which is amazing. So 2018 was a big year of cleaning up systems and stuff like that, which were in the middle
more efficient.
Yeah. Gotcha. So basically we've been in super growth mode, who gives a shit about anything, then clean up. Like if you think of bulking and cutting like a bodybuilder, we bulk and then we cut. We bulk and then we cut. Gotcha. I don't mean cut manpower, but I mean, get efficient. Right.
Absolutely.
So 2019, we did 3 million, so 50% growth. And this year we were on pace to do 4.2, 4.5. And then COVID hit. We're back on pace to do 4.5 to 5.5 million next year based upon our monthly revenue and also our monthly revenue consistent growth over time.
That's crazy because 2020 has definitely been a year of just insane things going on, right?
Yeah.
How were you able, because I think you and I had a conversation outside of this interview that there were a lot of wholesalers that were actually struggling, right?
Yeah.
And actually out of business.
Yep.
How are you able to maintain such success and also grow revenue-wise in one of the most craziest years of our lifetime?
Great question. So one note about most other wholesalers or our competition, there's really not a lot that's sophisticated or systematic, right? It's mostly one-man bands or close to one-man bands where their entire business is based around whether they're having a good day or not.
Yep.
And they run their personal lives out of their business checking account, which is a huge mistake for an early entrepreneur to do. As soon as you can separate your business and personal finances, fucking do it. Okay. Huge, huge, huge.
Especially legal, right?
Pardon?
Especially with the whole legality of it, as far as the commingling of the funds.
Yeah,
and things of that sort.
I'm not a lawyer,
Right.
but yeah, don't do it. It's
Okay.
I don't know.
sense.
You're not going to go to jail, but the tax man and just
of
don't
course.
do it.
Gets a little sticky.
Yeah, it can get a little like don't cheat on your taxes, kids. The IRS will come for you. There's a couple things there. Wholesaling or real estate investing is extremely competitive, and I mean extremely competitive. So, when you have COVID hit, there was a lot of challenges that are unique to our industry where you can't really go look at a property. They shut down real estate in Pennsylvania. You can't go to court or open an estate to settle on a property. You can't get your money, right? And buyers all disappeared because they didn't know if the economy was going to crash. There's all these things going on there. So, if you're a guy that's the business owner equivalent of living paycheck to paycheck, which I got news for you, most of them are.
Yep.
And you lose paychecks for 3 months, even with the PPP and who knows what else,
You start to kind of scramble and you get into survival mode.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you've done direct mail, you need to do $5-10 of direct mail a month.
Yeah, it's tough.
Just to make a small impact, let alone run a business. So, if you're not great at being consistent in the first place and then that happens, maybe you bought a flip that you thought was a great deal and it's not, and all of a sudden you're out of business. But that's the thing, when the economy is good and everything's growing, everybody looks good. It's it's 2 a.m. and you're a little drunk at the bar,
That's a good
6
analogy.
starts looking like a 7,
Right.
But you imagine if you just stay drunk like that until everybody's sober, until the economy dips or is sobering up, right? So a lot of people's bad business decisions or people that didn't actually know what they were doing and were making money by accident.
Yep.
It's like the emperor has no clothes. All of a sudden the curtain's pulled back and oh, you're a fraud, or oh, you're not good. Right. So that happened to a lot of people.
Wow.
And I didn't know when something was going to happen, but economics, if you study it, it's cyclical. There's going to be something sometime. So get ready for it.
Of course.
Do you have cash in the bank? Do you have relationships with bankers to get working capital loans? Do you have systems? Do you have a plan for if something goes wrong? I didn't have a plan specifically for COVID. I don't think anybody did.
No.
I was planning for a 2008-esque thing with a bubble bursting, an economic, fluctuation as normal. So I was caught completely by surprise. But from that note, but we have cash in the bank, relationships with bankers and things like that to get access to working capital loans and things like that, which are quite hard to get in this industry. But also the fucking people that are on the team here.
Yep.
We're all rowing in the same direction. It is criminal to not mention how tremendous and important that human side of it is, the people side of it. Yes, at this point, we're well funded. And back in the day, I didn't nobody gave me money to start this. I've saved
from scratch.
I've almost ran out of money, years ago now. But that happens. Cash flow is hard. It's hard to maintain when you're a new business owner.
Right.
And if you run out of cash, well, you're dead. It's like running out of blood, right?
Exactly.
You're dead, right? So, we're well capitalized. We've cash to grow, to invest in growth and all that stuff. We didn't have to take equity partners or anything like that. It's just from putting money in the bank, saving all that stuff.
You have 100% ownership of your company?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes. So,
George, I think what I find amazing is the fact that, you described your story of being a heroin addict. You described your story of trying to make ends meet, and you were just satisfied even with being a janitor as long as you had that happiness, right? What sharpens your mind so much to where your business acumen is up here to where you're able to weather the storm and make things happen? What are you doing that a lot of your competition is not doing?
So people ask me that a lot. They're like, where did you come from?
Right.
Especially if you...
Do you like the Bobby Axelrod of real estate? I keep on saying this, but it's the truth.
Thank you. So, didn't Bobby Axelrod go to Harvard or something like that though?
He came from the bottom. He came from the bottom.
I didn't know that.
And he
that was
started. You got to watch it. But he started. He started X Capital and just was killing it. But his street mentality allowed him to circle around a lot of the Wall Streeters.
Yes,
and that's the reason why I say you resemble that, because you come from the bottom.
Gotcha.
And you're using that business acumen from the streets and able to,
there's an
to
element of
propel
that.
it, of course.
One caveat I would point to there is, or maybe not caveat's the right word. Sometimes I use big words because they sound fancy and I don't know what they mean.
Right.
So one thing that I've noticed that, and I've noticed this from people telling me this, and then I started paying attention to it. Like, I'm extremely self-aware, and I'm not the most self-aware guy. I'm nowhere near perfect, but I am much more self-aware and realistic and practical about both my shortcomings and my strengths than most people.
Okay.
So through that, like a combination of the self-awareness, but also like a strong, deep internal, like inside of me, intrinsic desire to grow as a human being and get better. That's really what makes me happy. Like, it's not the money, it's like not the power, right? Like those are great,
right?
But it's the growth and progress. Because without the like growth and progress, like what are we as human beings?
Exactly.
Like,
We're
right?
just existing,
right? So a combination of the self-awareness, the desire to grow and progress, and also, I don't know exactly where this comes from, but there's some level of innate ability, which is better than the average bear's, right? Or like it's better than most people's, to notice what people are truly good at and what they're bad at, and like essentially identify role models for both what to do and what not to do, and be right more than I'm wrong, right? Like I'm not perfect with stuff like that at all. But like, that's sort of what I do. So like, as an example, like you mentioned Bobby Axelrod.
right?
So when I look for role models, or like, what do I want to emulate? What do I want to model? Whatever thing on, who's right, who's winning? Cause like whoever's winning is like probably who's right.
Of
you know
course.
what I mean? So, you hear some wholesaling, YouTube guru trying to charge you $200 for a course being like, this is how you get rich in real estate in 2 months. And they've like done 10
deals. You see a lot
deals.
of those advertisements now.
So it's just like, yeah, you do. You're just like, okay, well, like, why would I listen to that guy? Does he know what he's doing? Exactly. How old is he? How much money has he made? How successful has he been in what period of time? Did his dad give him $1 million? Like, the Trump
So
story.
you're looking at the big picture versus looking at what they're actually saying.
Exactly, right. So like, for instance, for Bobby Axelrod, so like, Bobby Axelrod is a character on a TV show, which is very dangerous to pay attention to fictional characters, because a writer can make them be whatever you want.
Absolutely.
Very dangerous. However, there's probably lots of merit in that story.
Of course.
Example, so I know he's a very politically charged figure, but I'm going to use him as an example anyway.
Yep.
So like George Soros, or I think the guy's name is Sam Zell. I want to go with Sam. Actually, I'm going to go with Sam Zell for the story, because I'm pretty sure the story is accurate. But I could be thinking
the real
of
estate mogul, right?
Yeah, he's a mogul. He sold to Blackstone. So I think that Sam Zell, either his parents or he survived the Holocaust, was like in a concentration camp. I might be thinking of George Soros, one of those like top 10 richest people that is like from Eastern Europe or whatever. Like literally was in a concentration camp. Like, I'm not talking about starting off in an American ghetto where like everyone has an iPhone and has access to Google and decent public schools and like clean water.
Right.
I'm talking about like systematically attempted to murder, like there is forces, serious headwinds for these folks, right?
Absolutely.
And what did that guy do to become successful? Where did he go right? Where did he go wrong? What were his advices? Where did he look for advice? So like, that's the type of thing that I would pay attention, like that I would, like I've, read the guy's book and stuff like that. Of course. I'm pretty sure it's Sam Zell I'm thinking of. If I'm wrong, please don't hate me in the comments. So, like a guy like that, it's like, what couldn't you learn from that? You know what I mean? Like, if they can do that, most of the decisions they made must be right. They must be superior. Like ultimately, like sort of what I'm in search of is like, what is true? What is correct? What is the ultimate knowledge? So I remain open-minded, as humble as can be, because you still need to have a little bit of an ego to do this stuff.
Of course.
And in search of truth and knowledge, and also I want to apply it. But that's like, I again, going back to my childhood, I didn't grow up in a business family.
Right.
But I've always been a lover of learning for the sake of learning, and like learning the truth.
Absolutely.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, I know for the sake of time, I have a few more questions for you,
Yeah,
but
let's
one
do
of the things that I wanted to do was, go back and describe the first time you made your first $1 million, right? Revenue. It could be gross. What age was that? And describe the feeling you had when you finally found out that you made it.
Okay, so the age that I did it and the age I found out about it are different.
Okay.
So I'll tell. Yeah. So the first million in revenue in a 365 day calendar year.
Yep.
Must have been. I want to say 2016. It must have been 2016. When I realized
How old were you at that time?
2016, 26.
You're a pretty young guy.
Yeah,
so.
I'm 31 now.
Yep.
Wow, what year is this? This is 2020?
2020.
All right, whatever. 4 years ago, I would have been like 26, 27.
Gotcha. So 26, 27.
26,
Your first
27.
meal.
In revenue, there's a huge
Revenue.
difference between revenue and like what
Net.
you take home. There's a
Yeah, of
huge
course.
difference, right?
Yep.
It's not what you make, it's what you keep.
Exactly.
You know, beware of idiot YouTube wholesale gurus that are like, I made $2 million this year. It's like, no, you didn't. You didn't. Sorry,
Right.
pal. Like, you're just lying. You're full of
You spent the whole million. You spent
Yeah.
the $1 million on expenses just to advertise to everyone.
Yes, you did.
Right.
And then you bought a Range Rover and now you're broke.
Yeah.
So, well, I do like nice cars, but I don't have a Range Rover. What was the question you asked me again? I'm sorry.
So the question was, when you made your first $1 million,
how
what
did it
age?
feel?
Describe the feeling.
Yeah, so
How
it was
did you
26,
feel?
27.
Especially coming from the way you grew up.
Yeah. So when I'm going to describe to you the feeling that I had when I knew that I didn't have to worry about money the same way that I used to. And like, I still do worry about money. Of course, I want to grow and, need to keep an eye on the business. But like the point at which I was like, okay, my personal finances are handled and this is not a paycheck to paycheck thing, because that happened sort of around the same time. And that felt really, really good. And then it felt normal an hour later.
Gotcha.
Right? And that's like amazing. So like they say money can't buy happiness, and it cannot, right? But it does alleviate, or can alleviate, probably about 80% of your worries or problems.
Gotcha.
Right? Which can lead to you being able to do more personal growth work, meditate more. Example.
Yep.
When I
more
got
time.
right, so when I got into real estate, my car payment was late, and I didn't know if I was going to make my rent payment. And at the time, I was making good money as a window salesman, but I had gotten sick. There was some other context there, but I was broke. Right. I legitimately was worried about money. Right, and like setting your mortgage payment up or your car payment up on auto pay, and then like not having to check to see what day that comes out on, is very freeing.
Gotcha.
But after that, there is no presence of how do I say it? There and
Once you hit that
self-awareness,
level,
right?
it's normalized now. So now you're looking for the next hit, so to speak.
Yeah, but
right?
So I want to say this in meditation, self-awareness, mindfulness terms, because I think it's very valuable when framed in that way. There is no presence of the piece of knowledge that, oh, I'm rich, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
There is only an absence of the opposite of that.
Gotcha.
But because there is not a presence of, oh, I'm a millionaire, or whatever that thought is for whoever that person is, it's like anticlimactic. Because like when you're a kid and you're like, shit, mom says I can't get my teeth fixed because we don't have enough money. I'm like, all right, well,
Right.
you're like, oh wow, I wonder what it must be like to be able to get the name brand Cheerios. Oh, that must be amazing. But then it happens, and there's that moment that you can, maybe you savor and enjoy. But after that, it's just, I need to keep growing. I need to keep making progress. What really makes me happy? What I really love. There's 1,000 stories of people selling their companies for $800 million in a day,
Yep.
where that's what they net, and they celebrate, they get a boat, and then 2 months later, they're like bored, or they kill themselves, or maybe they don't kill themselves, but they get drinking problems, or they get back in the game, baby. I love the game.
Yep.
I
So
wanna
they
be
love the
fucking-
process
yeah.
versus,
Right. I want to be like Michael Jordan,
Okay.
or Kobe Bryant, before he passed away. But thankfully, I am not a professional athlete where my body betrays me at some point. I'm a businessman, and I can play this game until I die. And that is what I intend to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Describe your, what is your 3 to 5 year plan with this business?
We're going, we're going to keep growing at 50% annually for the next 10 years. And if we maintain the 50% number, which actually seems pretty darn feasible in revenues, we'll get to 100 million in revenue in 8 years, or 8.5, which is the goal. We're going to do 100 million in revenue in a wholesaling company No one's ever done that before, ever.
Wow.
Really excited for it. Next 3 to 5. So we're opening an office in Florida in 2021. And then the plan is every 6 months to a year after that to continue opening satellite offices and continue doubling down on efficiencies in the greater Philadelphia area.
Gotcha.
So hopefully 5 years from now, we'll have, let's call it 6 or 7 satellite offices doing 10 million each a year, plus this one doing 12 to 15. And, we'll be getting pretty darn close to that 100 million mark.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Describe your morning routine.
Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I wake up at 6:30 to 6:40. I drink a protein shake and wipe the cobwebs out of my eyes. And then I use the Waking Up app. So this is my current morning routine. I use the Waking Up app from Sam Harris, and I do whatever the daily meditation is for 10 minutes. And then I take a shower and go to the gym.
Yep.
I go to work. And on the way into work, I read emails and stuff. My car drives itself, which is really fucking cool. Or I read The Economist or Financial Times, or I'll listen to a book, or I'll read a book. I constantly want to be learning, right? Because that's your time to do that, especially business owner time. Tuesday, Thursday, same routine, except I wake up an hour later or so, sometimes a little more than that, and I don't go to the gym. But my day starts with not looking at my phone right away, which is very important. I don't want to see an email or a text message that sets my whole,
Because then you're on reaction mode after
exactly.
that. Gotcha.
And I pick out what I'm going to wear, which recently, the last 6 months or a year, I want to wear something that juices me up and makes me feel like a good business owner. Sometimes I'm a t-shirt guy. Sometimes I'm a button-down and a jacket guy. Right now I'm a button-down jacket guy. But I always meditate. I always meditate in the morning or do some type of mindfulness meditation practice for between 10 and 20 minutes.
And that sets you up for the day.
Yep, that has changed my life. It's one of the single most effective uses of my time and things that I've done ever is sticking with and being kind to myself with a meditation practice. It's changed my life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Now, I know you mentioned books that you've read. Name a book that has either changed your life or has attributed greatly to the success within your business.
So when I was 18, when I was addicted to drugs, I read a 120-page book called Pleased But Not Satisfied by a man named, I think, David Sokol, Sokol, who was one of Warren Buffett's lieutenants. I read about him in the Wall Street Journal. I'm going to get this guy's book. $20 for the book was a lot of money for me at the time. I was going to do it.
Yep.
And the first chapter of that book was like a fucking smack in the face, and it was just like, holy shit. Basically, the guy tells this amazing story of his life, and then he's like, "But my 8 or 6 year old son died of cancer unexpectedly, and there's nothing that can." I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Right.
And it said, and I've never forgot this: life's not fair, and nobody ever fucking said that it would be. So don't expect it to be. Wow. I added the "don't expect it to be," but that's what he said, and I'm getting goosebumps now. And at that time in my life, I was like, you mean I can write my own ticket because life's not fair, and that operates in either direction? Because, at that point in my life, remember, as a drug addict, I felt very sorry for myself. Oh, poor, woe is me. It was like, life's not fair. No one ever said it fucking would be. Put your put your big boy pants on and start changing your life. I did stay addicted to heroin for a few years after that, but that stuck in my mind for that period. I don't know if that book is still in print. I think you can get one for like $60. Highly recommend it.
Okay.
Other books, How to Win Friends and Influence People, The Art of War, Richest Man in Babylon. Those are the ones that come to mind as far as
Gotcha.
big ones.
Yep.
I'm currently reading, I read a lot, obviously. I also watch a lot of podcasts, and I also watch a lot of business leaders that I know or respect, talks in front of colleges and things like that. Those can be equally valuable to a book. I have a lot of trouble finishing books. I'll read 30% of it and then throw it away. And I'm reading Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babson right now, which is, I know that book is sort of all the rage, or has been. Yep. Really fucking good. Strongly recommend it.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well written and also cool advice in there.
Nice.
So, Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Well, listen, I don't want to take too much of your time, but I got to thank you once again.
Thank you,
for
Daryl.
the
Thank you for having me out.
opportunity. I think this interview was awesome. I loved. See, I've always been, especially when I read books and when I'm looking at successful people, I get more interested in their beginnings than where they than where they are now. I think it really talks to the character that you have. You know, a person that pretty much came from nothing and you transformed to become, to build a multi-million-dollar business. And take the revenue, take the money aside, just you growing as a person.
Thank you.
And fighting against that, fighting against those inclinations from the past and continuing to remain strong is just something that's very inspiring.
Yes, thank you, man. I
Thank you
that.
so much,
You're
and
welcome.
I'm just grateful to just be connected with you, my
Thank
brother.
you, Daryl. It's good to see you
Appreciate
again.
man.
Yeah,
Nice
it's been
to
a
see
little
you
bit.
as well.
Oh,
I
man.
wish you nothing but success, everybody. That's a wrap. If you need to connect to George Beatty, please
Don't.
don't.
No, I'm just kidding. GeorgeBeatty.com. Feel free to follow me on Instagram. I think it's george.beatty, although it's mostly memes about Mountain Dew. Check out my Facebook, George Beatty.
Pick up the book.
Yeah, pick up my book. It's called Hustling from Heroin to Houses if you want the more detailed story. I say fuck a lot in the book, so heads up. And if you're interested in our business side or interested in working for us here, you can check out our website at problempropertypals.com. And check out our Indeed posting page. We're hiring for a few positions pretty much all the time. If you want a shot, I like giving people shots because somebody gave me one, right?
Yep.
And if you're interested in buying our off-market wholesale deals in Philadelphia or in future cities, I'm sure in the future there'll be links to the other cities we are in as well. You can check out our buyer-facing website at paoffmarket.com. Like the initials for Pennsylvania, paoffmarket.com. And your boy GB signing off.
There you go. The Ric Flair of real estate, the Bobby Axelrod of real estate. It's a wrap, everybody.
Games on your love.